Hey guys, Bobobo here with the final Season 1 review for the Netflix and League of Legends animated series, Arcane. I know I've been doing episode reviews so far, and if you haven't seen those, click here to watch those. But since Season 1 is finished, I thought I would just do a full season review for it. Just to preface everything, I've been playing the game since beta in 2009, but I've never delved into the lore at all. I know Riot's been trying to push the lore since a couple years back, really hard, and I guess that this series is really the big leap where we see them really delving deep into the history of the world and its characters. And just for you guys all to know, even though this is based on League lore, you don't have to know anything about the world or its characters to watch this show. It's a completely standalone story. And yeah, it's cool if you recognize some of the characters or locations, but it's totally fine if you go into the show knowing absolutely nothing. Actually, it might be better that way since you wouldn't have the expectations or prior knowledge of the in-game characters, since I'm pretty sure all this happens before the games. And with Season 2 already announced and in the works, now is the best time to get into this show. So, let's get into it. Okay, and just right off the bat, this is, I think, the best animated series that I have ever seen. The world building and the characters are so well fleshed out, and the story just pulls you in immediately. And you really feel for the characters and why they do what they do. Speaking of characters, we begin the journey with Vi and Powder, whom later becomes Jinx from the game. So, Vi is just great. And we see a great character arc for her caring for Powder in the beginning. Then she begins to point out Powder's faults to her childhood friends, but still having her back then. And then when she really loses Powder when she abandons her after finding out it was Powder who caused the explosion that killed their friends. For her, she is somewhat hot-headed, but always stands to help people whenever they need, especially in the Undercity. For me, I found her a little bit one note, to be the hot-headed bruiser type and very straightforward in how she interacts with the other characters, and this is really apparent after she lost Vander. But overall, I really did enjoy her character, and she's a really good main character for this series. So Jinx, for me, is definitely the most interesting character, at least one of the most interesting in the series by far. Just because of my curiosity of how she went from the shy and unconfident Powder to the insane and crazy Jinx. We find out that through her experiences, she became more and more unstable as the episodes went on, and even till the end, you kind of feel that, she can be brought back into her normal self, but something always happens to drive her even more insane. And it's just really tragic to see that. I'm pretty sure that she got some form of schizophrenia at some point after the time skip in Act 2, and that really set her off on the road to become the Jinx that we know today. Okay, so Caitlyn, for me, is also a little bit one note, as she is from a really rich family, and a family that is on the council, but has a really kind heart. She takes a while to open up, but I felt her and Vi's relationship did progress a bit faster than I expected. It kind of felt like one moment they were traveling to the Undercity together, barely knowing each other, and the next they were pretty much inseparable. I felt like if they gave more time to their relationship, it would have been a lot better. Next up, we have Jayce. So Jayce is definitely one of the main characters here, as he does really have a great arc. From him almost giving up to becoming the man of the future with his innovations, and then next to becoming one of the council members, I definitely feel that he carries a lot of weight in this show, especially as a character that has political influence. And it does feel great in the end, where he just stands up to the council members, to what he believes in. But he sometimes is kind of unpredictable too, like going against Heimerdinger in a really rude way. But I did understand his actions and why he did the things that he did. Overall, I really like this character as well. And I'm really glad that we saw his iconic hammer by the end. Okay, so Viktor is one of the characters that I really felt for. And the whole time I expected him to turn evil like the Viktor we know from the games, or at least I assume he's evil based on his character design. From the time where he began to have his differences of opinion with Jayce, to him fusing with the mutated hex core, but his evilness never came. Even until the end, where he was still really a good and genuine person. I was really surprised by that. And speaking of which, his relationship with Jayce is really good to me, of how they built their friendship and partnership in science, and with him and Jayce always having that difference, but still able to remain friends about the choice to defend themselves, or having hextechs only to improve lives. And I think his character is one that I'm really curious of how they will develop in season 2. So next up is Heimerdinger, and Heimer really took a backseat in this season. He's really much more of a side character that sets up events and situations for other characters. And yeah, I do realize that he's on the council, but he doesn't really manage to do a lot of difference in this season. He did have his iconic accent though of how he talks, and it's cool to hear him speak something other than his one-liners from the games. Okay, so in the beginning of episode 7, we see the official reintroduction to Echo all grown up. And oh my god, I said in my previous review that Echo was the one behind the mask of the leader of the Firelights, and I was right. Although he's a lot taller than I expected, but maybe that's because in the game he's always hunching his back. And just as an extra note, Echo's hair animations is just so good, and how it looks when light hits it, and how they did it in this new art style was really, really cool to me. His hair definitely steals the scene every time I see it. For the last of the lead characters, we have Singed, who's also here, where he helped bring back Jayce to life when Silco rescued her. He doesn't have much presence here, but hopefully we'll see more of him in the next season. And that's it for all the lead characters that I remembered. So, moving on to villains now, Silco is definitely my other favorite character in the show. When Silco goes to the bridge in episode 8 to rescue Jinx, we see a lot of humanity in him that we didn't expect. He picks up Jinx, but he also sees Vi in the distance watching them, and without smirking or anything, he just picks her up and takes her to rescue her. And you can tell that he really cares about Jinx. He even goes back to Vander's monument and contemplates all his actions up to that point, and it surprised me that he even had a statue of Vander built in his honor, and is regretting some of his decisions in his life. This is really a truly tragic character, and I just love this character as a whole. So there are a couple supporting cast characters that really did it for me as well. Mel and Vander are the supporting characters that I really enjoyed and felt that they both had important roles to play. Overall, I thought that the cast of characters were great, and they not only serve their roles well, but they really, really do grow on you. The thing with this show is that it really makes you feel for everyone, no matter if they are good or bad or evil, even knowing how they turn out in the games. You really, really empathize with everyone's point of view and why they do what they do to survive in this world. So let's talk about story. And for the story, yes, there are a lot of coincidences that you would expect that breaks people and relationships apart, like when they say the wrong things at the wrong time, or choose not to say the most important things when they should have, and it would have saved everyone. But it also creates all the drama that we need for these relationships, and it's pretty few and far in between that I can accept it. The story really revolves around the city of Piltover, the upper city where everything is shiny and probably where all the rich upper class live. And then there's the Undercity, which Silco wanted to be independent and called Zon. This is where all the poor live, and the contrast between these two locations are really just heartbreaking. The main problem here is that the government or the council doesn't really seem to want to help these people because maybe they have their own agendas, their own businesses, or at least they feel that they need a little bit more information to break into the Undercity, which is rife with crime. And it's because of that inability and inaction of the council that really causes all the root of the problems that come about in this show. It's really tragic to see as well. And when eventually we do see them change and accept that they have to help these people, it was way too little too late. There was a quote by Viktor that really sums up the entire show for me. He says that in the pursuit of great, we fail to do good. And this is what leads to all the fighting. And speaking of the fights, oh my god, the fight scenes are really, really jaw-droppingly gorgeous. The animation, especially during the fights, are just so fluid and smooth that you can really tell Riot spared no expense for this production. The one fight that comes to mind, the most memorable one, is the one between Jinx and Echo, and I really especially love this one. Not only does it change up the entire art style, also it's like almost like a propaganda poster, but really creatively brings Echo's ultimate time rewind into a believable scene. It also reminds me of the fight between Kakashi and Obito in Naruto, like how it cuts back and forth into their present and past selves. This is a fight as if they were still innocent children playing, and then cuts to a real fight between ideals and one that really encompasses their experiences they've had to endure from children to adulthood. It's really symbolic too, with the light shining behind Echo and a long dark bridge behind Jinx. It really shows how far they've come as characters and how their experiences shape them. By the end, Vi does take up her iconic gauntlets from Jayce, and Jayce does also have his hammer here, gun mode and all. This is the other fight scene that really struck a chord with me, as the entire series was built up to this moment where they have their iconic weapons. Towards the end, we do see Jayce at the council, that he has brokered peace with Zaun and Silco's independence, and what I love seeing was all the other council members going absolutely crazy with his decision. So the season ends with Vi waking up and is tied up with Jinx hovering around her. This is where we actually see her basically lose all of her sanity. We realize that they're all at the warehouse where Vander died. So Silco, Vi, and Kate are all tied up, and Jinx reveals a psycho dinner party of sorts with dolls of their dead childhood friends. I actually really like this scene. It's almost like a verbal fight, everyone vying for Jinx's favor and tries to convince her that they are the one that's on her side. It's a really tense scene, as Jinx is always in control of the situation, but not of her mind. We see really cool visualizations of her madness as both Silco and Vi pleads with her. She ends up actually losing it and kills Silco by accident. Again, there's just a lot of humanity here that I didn't really expect. In the end, Jinx puts the gemstone that she stole into her ultimate shark rocket and fires it into the council members meeting as they actually vote for peace. I just feel bad for all the characters, especially for Mel, and it's just too little too late as the rocket flies towards the council chamber as they actually agree to a peaceful solution. This has got to be one of the most cliffhanger endings I've ever seen for a season. You would expect that this is a cliffhanger for an episode, but no. That's the end of the whole season. I guess we'll pick everything up in season 2. So overall, coming into the show, I just wanted to see some cool action with all the characters that I knew and loved, but it really gave me a whole lot more. This really just makes me want a whole RPG with every single character as their own story in an open world like Skyrim style, and just live through each character's stories. That would be awesome. This is such a good season, and it's such a good, mature show that it's insane. Because Jayce will fight because of Mel dying probably in the next season, so it's Piltover versus Zaun. Mel's mom probably also is super pissed off, and she probably will start a war because of her. So it's really Piltover versus Noxus in the next season. And everything is because of the government's inability to make decisions at a pace that the people of its city needs it to. It's really sad to see, as I just wanted to see them all peaceful, but then we will have no show and no game. And that is what I love about this show. It really gives all the main characters a lot of humanity. And what I loved most about this show is the fact that as you watch through the episodes, the earlier episodes that you've already watched becomes even better, which is such a surprise to me. You can really understand characters' motivations as you remember how they acted in the episodes before, and it's really amazing how they did that. I mean, for the characters, hate them or love them, their actions are all very understandable, and the characters are both tragic and redeeming at the same time, and the world is just built really well. And I think this might be the best animated series that I have ever seen in my life, and definitely my favorite as well. And I can't wait for season 2. And that's it, guys. That's it for season 1 of Arcane, the new Netflix and League of Legends animated series. I can't wait for season 2, and thank you guys for watching all the way till the end. Please leave a comment down below of what you think of season 1 and what you're looking forward to most in season 2. Thanks again. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel as it helps bring more people to our discussion. Thanks, and have a great day.